Unpopular opinions I have about pop culture. Snape sucks. Nothing makes me angrier than when people on the internet kind of name drop Snape as a tragic love story. There are also people on the internet whose wedding cakes are like Snape themed or involve some sort of reference, because there's kind of that moment in Harry Potter, spoiler alert, where Dumbledore says to Snape, after all this time, and Snape says, always. And there's some people on the internet and in real life who has interpreted that as a romantic moment. It's not. It's creepy and weird. Snape is creepy and weird and a bad person who abuses little children, including but not limited to Harry and Neville, who did bad things and regretted them, but in a very selfish way. I could literally make a 10-minute video explaining why I hate Snape, which I don't want to do, but that's a very unpopular opinion that I have. If you want to read about it, click here to an article I wrote about it. The Hunger Games movies are better than the books. I really like the books. I read them in like one weekend in a really intense binge. The books are just a good story, whereas the movies I think have a lot to say about politics and what it means to like stand for something and like our relationships to other people. Thor is much more interesting as the vaguely Shakespearean friend of the Avengers than as his own individual character. He's much better in the Avengers movie than he is in his own movies. I think he's much more fun as a sort of comic relief deus ex machina. Every time Game of Thrones kills someone, it gets less interesting. That seems, I guess, counterproductive because you would think it would be interesting to watch people die, but it's not. Because every time it kills someone, it's basically saying, none of this matters. We're just gonna kill everyone. That was supposed to be a knife stabbing motion. I don't have knives, so you just gotta visualize the stabbing. The Lost finale is great. I love the Lost finale. Nobody else does. Like in the lead up to Mad Men, people were like, is it gonna be a new Lost? Are we gonna hate the ending? I loved the ending of Lost. It was a little schmaltzy. I bought it. Every single TV show should do a musical episode. I love musical episodes. I love the musical episode of Scrubs. Imagine if 30 Rock had done a musical episode, or Parks and Rec, or if Game of Thrones did. I'd be so much more interested in Game of Thrones if they did one musical episode. House of Cards is bad. More people, I think, are agreeing with me on this over time, but it's really boring. I've fallen asleep more than once while watching House of Cards, and I realized kind of this year when I fell asleep that I should just stop watching it. So I did, and I don't regret it at all. Harry Potter should have died. I guess that seems sort of counterintuitive, since I just said that Game of Thrones is more boring every time somebody dies, but I think that when your story rests on the hero making a big sacrifice, that hero should die. I felt the same way watching Dark Knight Rises. Batman definitely should have been dead. He definitely shouldn't have been in Paris at the end. That movie, which I didn't like, I would have liked a lot more if he'd been dead. Matthew McConaughey should have died at the end of Interstellar, or at the very least should have just been floating in space with a sort of ambiguous. It would have meant a lot more if this person had actually died. I don't love Beyonce's most recent album. I mean, it's good, and I like Beyonce, but I don't love Beyonce. And I feel like everybody else loves Beyonce, and I'm like, okay, you guys do you. I don't mind Kim Kardashian. Like, I think it's very popular to be like, Kim's the worst. Kim's fine. Of the Zoolander, Anchorman, Dodgeball triumvirate of movies, Zoolander's the best one. People, I think Anchorman is the best one, maybe even Dodgeball. Those are definitely ones people quote the most, but Zoolander's actually the most funny. And then one time I had a ridiculous unpopular opinion. I have a very clear memory of myself as a young teen on an AOL teen message board writing that Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, and Ewan McGregor did an amazing job acting in the Star Wars prequels, and that they all deserved Oscar nominations for it. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that, but I remember writing that. If anyone can find that on the internet, that'd be impressive. While I was Googling unpopular pop culture opinions, I found a lot of people who don't like 30 Rock, and those people are wrong. But if you have a unpopular opinion, share it down there.